he went off to Russia, specifically Moscow, and he had a talk with an executive from a company called Rosneft. Now, Rosneft is a Russian-owned oil company, and they've been pretty upset with the sanctions that the United States have put on them. So they had this talk with Carter Page. There's another name out there that you may have heard of. His name's Christopher Steele. He's a spy for England. He's basically James Bond. Anyway, he gets hired by the Jeb Bush campaign to go and compile some opposition research on Trump. And what he finds floors him so much that he decides to put all of this inside of a big dossier, and he submits it to John McCain. You've probably heard of this dossier. It's the one that claims that there's a videotape out there of Donald Trump watching some Russian prostitutes pee on a bed that Obama slept in. I don't want to talk about that videotape. I want to talk about the part of it that talks about Rosneft, this oil company. Inside of it, it says that Rosneft was so upset with the sanctions brought against them that they were willing to offer up a 19% stake in their company to whoever could lift these sanctions. Well, guess what? Carter Page goes off in July, just like this dossier said it was looking for. He goes and he talks to Rosneft. The Trump campaign denies this happens, but we have evidence of it from the Associated Press. In December, Rosneft gives up a 19.5% stake in their company, with a quarter of it going to unknown sources. It's just shell companies in the Cayman Islands. So we have some confirmation that what Christopher Steele was talking about was true. The next person on the list I want to talk about is Paul Manafort. Now, Paul Manafort and Russia, they go way back, over 10 years. Paul Manafort has been talking with people that are close allies of Putin, as well as the Ukrainian Prime Minister Viktor Yanukovych. And so he was there talking about trying to ease relationships with these people. And it's reported that he was given $10 million from someone very close to Putin himself to do this work. He ends up resigning, but it turns out that the FBI starts investigating this guy. And in April, Manafort realizes that he has to register as a foreign agent to Ukraine. And so he has to admit personally that he's done these things. The next person I want to talk about is Jeff Sessions. Okay? Yeah, no kidding, right? Now, Jeff Sessions, you've probably heard that in his Senate confirmation hearings to become Attorney General, that Al Franken asked him about Russia, and he just out of nowhere, not even answering the question, says, "I've never had contact with Russia. I've got nothing to do with Russia. Don't tell me anything about Russia." You know, he just offers this up by himself. He also gets this letter asking him if he's had any communications with people from Russia about the election, and he answers unequivocally no.
Perjury.
Now, it's important to know that both times that he did this, he was under oath. And so when it comes out that in July he met with the ambassador of Russia, Sergei Kislyak, he lied. And he lied under oath, which is perjury. And you know who should understand what perjury is? The Attorney General of the United States. So right now, people are just trying to cover all this stuff up. So Jeff Sessions, he definitely met with the Russian ambassador. And in fact, he met with the Russian ambassador in his own office. So he can't claim that he didn't remember this or anything like this. He had communications with Russia. Next person I want to talk about is Jared Kushner.
Ooh.
Jared Kushner is President Trump's son-in-law. He married Ivanka Trump. And as far as I can tell, he's a senior advisor to Trump on everything, it seems like. Now, I want to tell you something about Kushner. He has absolutely no qualifications to do this job. None. The only qualification that he has is that he's a family member to President Trump himself. You know who hires people that don't have qualifications, but they're family members? Dictatorships and the mafia. And the reason they do this is because they don't care about qualifications as much as they care about loyalty. And that's why he was hired to do all this. Now in December after the election, He goes with Michael Flynn. I'm going to talk about Michael Flynn in a second. But he goes and he talks to the Russian ambassador, Sergei Kislyak. And he tries to get up a backdoor line to Russia out of the Russian diplomat's office. Now, a lot of people that are defending this, they don't have the total facts straight. Because what they talk about is, presidents, they offer up back doors all the time. Yeah, this is true. This is true that they do this. But when he did this, he was not acting as an official capacity as the Trump campaign. He didn't have a job yet. He was doing this for his dad. And the other thing is that when we do this, we always go through the proper channels and make sure that the FBI and the CIA can watch what these conversations are going on. Kushner did not ask for this. He asked for a line out of the Russian diplomat's office so that he could hide his conversations from the American people. Now, Michael Flynn. This guy's a piece of work. So he's hired as a national security advisor to Trump, and he as he's working as part of this, he is talking with someone very close to President Erdogan of Turkey, and they pay him through a company called Innoven. They pay him over $500,000 to go to bat for the Turkish President Erdogan. And while he's doing this, the Trump campaign is totally denying this. He's not a foreign agent, he's not working for Turkey, but he obviously is. And he goes out there, and on November 8th, he releases this op-ed that can only be described as Turkish propaganda. All it is just talking about how Turkey needs so much help from the United States, and we need to be kinder to Turkey and help them with everything that they're doing. And this confuses a lot of people because it comes out of nowhere. 2 days later, President-elect Trump sits down with President Barack Obama in the Oval Office. And Obama warns President Trump to his face, do not hire Michael Flynn. Do not trust this guy. Trump does it anyway. Well, sure. Not only does he hire him, but he makes him the national security advisor, which gives him top secret security clearance. And so he's in there on all the meetings, listening to everything that is going on in our country. And while this is going on, after the inauguration, the Wall Street Journal posts that Michael Flynn is actually working as a foreign agent for Turkey. And immediately, Trump goes to bat for this guy because he knows that he's going to be loyal. He goes out there and says, Michael Flynn, he's a great guy, don't worry about it. Other people start going to bat for him, but it starts getting to be too much and Michael Flynn has to resign. They go to Mike Pence, who is the senior level of the transition team, and they ask him, did you know that Mike Flynn was working as a foreign agent to Turkey? And Mike Pence says, oh, I had no idea. The unfortunate thing is, we know that he did. We know that Mike Pence knew this stuff. And it's because Representative Cummings, after the election, sent a letter personally to Mike Pence saying that Mike Flynn was acting as an agent for Turkey. And then meanwhile, we find out that before Comey gets fired, President Trump starts going to Comey telling him, this Mike Flynn stuff, let's just drop it. And he obstructs justice. And this is the biggest evidence that we have that this man should be impeached. We have real information here, and we should be bringing charges about this.
Yeah.
We need to hold our elected officials accountable. There is no one in the United States that is above the law, and obstruction of justice should have jail time attached to it. Now, what does this mean for all of us? Obstruction of justice. Obstruction of justice. It is a real crime. It absolutely is.
You and I would go to prison for obstruction of justice.
I want to bring up something about Watergate, because we talk about Watergate as the biggest political scandal in our nation's history. And it's important to keep in mind what this was actually about. Watergate was about a political party going into the offices of another political party, stealing some documents and bugging some phones. That was it. It was about the cover-up of this thing, and this looks so quaint in comparison to all the stuff that is going on right now. And that's why we have to get to the bottom of this. Whether you're Republican or Democrat, whether you're a Trump supporter or not, we should want to know the truth.
Amen.
We have a president that colluded with a foreign country to become elected president of the United States. And the thing that makes me the most mad is that there are people in Congress that are ignoring this, that are trying to actively squash investigations into the matter. If you support President Trump, you should want a full independent investigation because it would exonerate the man. But they're ignoring it. They don't want to know. They're like the monkeys with their hands over their eyes and their ears and their mouth. They don't want to know because they want to pass tax cuts for billionaires, and that's it.
Yeah!
Representative Mia Love, who I'm running against, where has she been? She's been saying nothing about this. This is potentially the biggest scandal in the history of the United States of America, and she is ignoring it.
She's a Republican puppet. That's what she is.
Anybody
I didn't say it. But I will say, as a robotics engineer, I know a robot when I see one.
Hey! Woo! Ow!
But I will say, she's not doing anything. There's people that are actively out there trying to squash investigations. She's even blocked me on Twitter like an 8-year-old. I don't understand this. And this is about holding our elected officials accountable. I want to tell you about why I was running. I'm a robotics engineer. I wasn't planning on doing this. I finished gave my PhD dissertation last May, and I was just going to be a robotics engineer. But in November, things changed here. What changed was we elected an authoritarian leader to our government.
Right.
And we have a complete party that controls our government right now that is willing to ignore all of that. And I remember going into work and sitting down at my desk and just wondering what I was doing with my life. Things are really important right now. It's a defining moment in our nation's history. And I like to think that if I was alive during the Civil Rights Movement, that I would have marched with the people. If I was alive during World War II, I would have enlisted and fought. And right now, we have a defining moment when it comes to this.
Yes.
And everyone that is out here today, you give me hope, and you give me faith in the future. And I'm running because we need to bring justice to our elected officials. I'm running because